that's rated very, very highly, with Hobbs, with Josh Sin, who can play through midfield or half-back, and there's a couple of West Australians, Neil Rasmus and Matt Johnson are there as well. And
the Tigers have lost some key position players of late, so whether that plays out.
With pick 9, the Richmond Football Club have selected Joshua Gibkas from the Greater Western Victoria Rebels.
Josh Gibkas is headed to the Richmond Football Club. What a moment for him as he joins the powerhouse yellow and black. This standout key defender in this year's draft pool, an athletic intercept marker, and, well, has really emerged this year in the mould of a Jake Lever.
Yeah, intercept marker and great athlete, this boy, 196 centimetres, and yeah, can play that role, can play the one-on-one type defender role as well as the intercept marking. I think he's got a tremendous upside still. He played very well on the 2 benchmark representative games this year. Played well down for the Australian under-18 team. Played well for Vic Country against Vic Metro. They're the only 2 games where we're able to measure the boys, the Victorian boys, at another level up, and was amongst the best on both of those occasions.
I enjoyed the small amount of time in the Australian camp with Josh. If you name Josh, you're likely to get drafted.
Very popular name.
But yeah, look, he was a great young man. He asked a lot of questions. Really wanted to improve his game consistently, and that's what I liked about it.
Strong hands and reads the play well, which is so important. David King, we talk so much about midfielders and forwards in the competition, but intercept defenders, I mentioned Jake Lever before, players like that, boy, are they important to coaches.
Yeah, that's the change in the game at the moment, isn't it? There's no doubt the importance of these guys. Think ups with this guy. He's 195 centimetres. I don't think he's ever marked the ball standing on the ground. He just goes straight up. His highlight reel, like I said earlier, it's a little bit like Peter Knight's playing at centre-half back. He just goes for the football. He's diligent enough to start with his opponent, but then he just assesses really quickly where it's likely to fall. And look at that. I mean, there's no one else going to get near that drop zone there, or he takes the ball at the highest point. Look at that, dropping off his man. That's assessing the ball in flight really early. That's AFL level already. This is the one I really like. That's the classic intercept mark player that we see in the competition right now. I think this guy's a steal at this pick. Richmond have got an absolute ripper, and we know that they're looking to rebuild in that back half. There's no doubt they've lost some key position talent. At pick 9 is a steal.
Oh, the Tiger Army will love that word, David King. All right, let's check in with Tom.
With Josh Gibkas here, going to the Richmond Football Club. How are you feeling about this?
Oh, mate, it's unreal. Honestly, overwhelmed with emotion at the moment. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy that I'm able to go down to Punt Road and get to train those boys soon, yeah.
Born in Brisbane, moved to Melbourne. Who's your favourite player growing up? Who do you model your game on?
Yeah, so I'm a Brisbane supporter, so obviously favourite player would be Jonathan Brown, but I sort of model my game off a bit of Jake Lever at Melbourne.
Yep. Howard Clark is here from St Pat's in Ballarat. What does it mean to have him here, and what impact has he had on your career?
Yeah, he's had a massive impact for me, especially like at St Pat's and during our footy with them. And yeah, I'm grateful for him. He's done a lot for me and my family. And yeah, yeah.
What about the vertical leap testing? Tell us about what happened there at the testing day.
Oh, look, I reckon I got a bit stitched up there. Couldn't go any higher because of the roof, but yeah, obviously did my best, and that was the outcome.
Is that a Movember you got going?
Yeah, I do. So I'm with Hemisphere Managing Group at the moment, and we're doing a bit of, I'm growing a mo to raise some awareness for mental health, yeah.
Congratulations, you're a Richmond Football Club player. Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
On the clock with pick number 17, we spoke before about them having quite a strong hand in this year's draft. We haven't seen them be major players of late. We've seen them be major players in September, but perhaps not in this November draft period. They'll be assessing what to do here. Kevin, the talent that's left on the board is still incredible, isn't it?
Some terrific players, and I can see that there could be a dozen they're looking at right now. It was very uncertain what might happen at the back end of this this first round, and there's been some swings and roundabouts already. So, yep, the pick is in.
With pick 17, Richmond have selected Tom Brown from the Murray Bushrangers.
Congratulations to Tom Brown. He is headed to Tigerland, an athletic, quick, line-breaking defender who can go forward. The son of former Cat Paul Brown, and his sister Millie was on Geelong's AFLW list. So a footballing family from the Murray Bushrangers, a wonderful story, and he's perhaps one that's bolted up the draft board this year.
Yeah, I think he's probably in that group of the 10 or 12 that might have been tonight or early tomorrow. Interceptability is the key. He's got a little bit of Tom Stewart about him, the way he dashes through as well. So another halfback that they've gone for here. A boy down at the Geelong Grammar as well has moved away from Marootna. He's up there in the Goulburn Valley area playing for the Murray Bushrangers. But yeah, love the way he takes the game on. He's got some real dash about him.
You mentioned Millie. She can certainly play.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that. And now Tom as well. What about that for the family and what Paul did as a player as well? So
not eligible for the father-son because Paul played 84 games, including the grand final.
Got injured a bit at the end of the career, so no one's fault.
Originally from Echuca, Paul.
Another one. Yes, there's one.
What sort of player are they looking for, Shifter, do you think, and Joey?
Well, no doubt it has to be midfielders, I would think. Shifter last night, they're probably a bit of a surprise. They took the two sort of intercept defenders in Gibkas and Brown. So I would think certainly now they would focus in these picks in the 20s on the best available midfielders.
So how do you do this? They've got the next 3 picks. Do you just pick them off your whiteboard, or are you more strategic than that?
I mean, it's hard to know. I would think by taking the 2 best tall defenders last night, they would be pretty much looking at those midfield types today. Whether they keep all 3 picks, maybe they might try and potentially trade one out to come back in next year. We'll just have to wait and see. But when you think about their list, Trent Cotchin, Edwards, Lambert and Dustin Martin are all now 30 plus. Presty is 29.
And Tarrant's come in.
Yeah, so they've got some sort of older players that have been so great for that footy club for a number of years, but they probably need to top up now in that midfield. I mean, Collier Dawkins, Thompson Dow and Jack Ross have all been in the system for a couple of years, still trying to find their feet and establish themselves. We know they've got some other players, but maybe we think they might take some of the midfielders available.
With pick 28, Richmond have selected Tyler Sonsy from the Eastern Rangers.
And we profiled him just a few moments ago, the boy that we thought maybe a chance to end up at Hawthorn. Think Darcy Parish for the way this boy plays. He hunts the footy, a natural ball winner. I'd love to ask him who taught him to kick left and right. He's brilliant both sides of the body. He's exciting the way he can do that. That's great education for early on in his footy, I think. Yeah, just so natural. The MVP back in the under-16s, a great point of reference for these boys out of Victoria that mightn't have played in their 17th year and only had a half a year in their 18th. Go back to when all things were equal and they played a normal year of footy and represented the state, and he was the MVP then. So very, very gifted player. And we mentioned his game. The one game he had up at VFL level, had 22, looked very much at home, kicked a brilliant goal from about, or a couple of goals from about 50.
All right, we've got Tyler Sonsy on the line. Tyler, next year, if you play senior footy, you'll be playing alongside Trent Cotchin, Dustin Martin, Jack Rewald. How does that sit with you?
Yeah, it's unreal, really. Like, it's an amazing experience to be with them and, yeah, just learn off it as much as I can.
You've got your manager behind you, Nick Geeshan. You've got your family there. What does it mean to them, do you think?
Yeah, it's unreal. Like, they all know I go for Richmond. Like a dream come true, really. So, yeah, they're over the moon.
Congratulations, Tyler. I see you've got all your mates there as well. It's, hopefully you enjoy the night. Which one of your mates, point out, is going to be best on tonight now that you've got drafted? Who's going to celebrate the hardest?
Like Conor McDonald.
So hang on, so 2 of you in the same room that got drafted?
Yeah.
That's
yes,
right.
Connor. There you go. Well done, boys. That's pretty exciting for the both of them.
Hey, just a quick question. Tell us about where you grew up, where you're from, what you did as a teenager, and what sort of player you are, for those who don't know.
Yeah, so I'm more of a midfield forward. I like to hit the scoreboard a bit. Just grew up around Roeville and played junior footy there.
What about you, Connor? Are you proud of your mate? What are your thoughts on that, potentially playing against him next year, Hawthorn versus Richmond?
Yeah, well, I've always played with him, so it'll be a good experience to play against him. Yeah, just super proud of him, and yeah, we've played with each other. In juniors for a few years, and yeah, it's just really good to have him here and go through the same experience as him.
And how's your last 24 hours been, Connor? Sitting, watching the draft last night, seeing a few of the boys get drafted, having a sleep. How'd you sleep last night? It must be a relief now to finally have heard your name called out.
Yeah, well, I wasn't really expecting anything last night, so I was looking forward to tonight, and yeah, just so grateful that I got to experience it with one of my good mates in Tyler, and yeah, we're just really looking forward to the future now.
Well done, Connor. Well done, Tyler. Great to chat to you both. Enjoy the night and make sure you celebrate.
Cheers.
That's awesome. How good's that? 2 best mates sitting and getting drafted together, Joey. That's what you love to see.
Absolutely it is. And a lot of these boys all know each other now. They all go through the academies and the state sides and play at their local footy clubs together. And then they go off and they go and forge their own careers in different teams. And I mean, how lucky are those two boys, though, really, when you think about it? One's gone to Hawthorn, one of the great clubs of the modern era, and then the other one in Richmond, who has been the greatest club in the last 4 or 5 years. So they're going to go to great environments, they're going to learn from the best, and hopefully sets them up to have wonderful careers.
So I said Nick Geeshan's behind him as well. So is Nathan Freeman, who got drafted to Collingwood, went to St Kilda, so he's in player management as well with Connors. And, well, this is Tyler, this is his work.
Yeah, this is his work, and as we said, just a really natural footballer. I see a little bit of, think of Steve Canilio, the way that he is when he's up and about at his best. He can kick both sides, he can hit the scoreboard. He's got that footy nous. He knew there, he was late to get to that stoppage. He's got a really good footy IQ. You can see there, picking the footy off, reading it well, and able to get forward, hit the scoreboard. He's had some injury troubles as well, but just smart, got a good goal sense. Working through the contest. He's got that ability to win on the inside and outside.
One of the great recruits, Noel Judkin, said to me once about picking Dane, Swan and James Hird. It's that ability to grab it before it hits the deck off hands, with a set of bounce or whether it's a crumb from a pack up forward. The built-in IQ of where the ball will go. That's the great ability of players like Tyler Sonsy.
And the confidence with these kicks. So this is what we're seeing, all the great kicks to come out of the under-18s, pull that ball through the corridor, take the risk, and clever with his hands. So just another natural footballer, which I love to see. We love to see just these natural footballers. Connor was the same. They just know how to play the game, know how to find the footy, and they'll adapt at any level because they've got footy smarts.
And the Tigers are looking for a quick bounce as well. I know they didn't have a great year this year, but they'll be looking for these young players to come in and make an impact immediately.
With pick 29, Richmond have selected Samuel Banks from the Tasmania Devils.
Fantastic. He's the first Tasmanian boy taken, and a star he will be. I'll back you on that one. Start at the start of the year, then hurt a wrist. And again, this is the story of building your resilience. Things can't always go to plan. And so he missed a fair bit of the season and come back with that wrist. It still needed a bit of work after the season was over. It wasn't quite right, tackling one hand, but still showed his class. I liken him to a Bailey Dale, back behind the ball when he plays half-back, but he can play on the wing as well. He debuted for the Tassie Devils, their under-18 side over there, as a 16-year-old and held his own. He's barely 16 at the time. So he's following Taron Thomas, Will. There's the next one out of Tassie. He hadn't let us down. We noticed that most people hadn't put him in 40 or 50. They'd forgotten about him. Don't forget about this boy. He's a natural player, very gifted. He even made the team of the year based on just a handful of games because he's got absolute class, and that's with his use of the footy.
Yeah, so a bit more of an outside player, and that's the ability when you've got 3 picks in a row for Richmond. They can maybe mix up and get that balance right with who they want to add to that midfield, and he's certainly got that outside class and run and dash that can maybe make it as a half-back flanker.
Mick, Shifter said that some clubs may have forgotten about him. You didn't forget about him. You thought he was a good player all the way through.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, he's a player for mine that's just always involved in the contest, and that's what I loved. He just tends to hang around, give himself every opportunity to be involved, whether that's at stoppage, whether it's getting as an attacking 2-type player that gets the handball receive or whatever it happens to be. Really, really hard worker and a traditional Tassie product that certainly not afraid of contact, that's for sure. So the Tigers have got themselves a nice ball-winning, tough inside mid that can certainly create opportunities around him.
We can probably put him under the banner of a draft bolter here, Joey.
Yeah, well, the rankings there had him at 46, as Shifter said, taken inside the top 30. And as we've said, because, again, there's been so many players this year that we haven't seen a lot of football because of, obviously, COVID, particularly in Victoria. But a lot of these players have had injuries as well. And as Shifter said, he had a wrist injury, hadn't played a lot of football. So everyone's sort of draft orders will be quite varied compared to previous years because of lack of exposure, and you're really speculating. So the list managers and the recruiters are certainly going to have their work cut out because they are speculating with a lot of these players. There isn't as much football to see, particularly with the Victorian kids, as we've seen with some of the Western Australians that have been able to play a full season.
Shifter, do you think the speculation would help and hurt some kids? Some kids might actually be better off for not playing so much football, and some might actually be worse off?
Yeah, you can overanalyse, can't you, when you're looking at a player? You start to come up with all the things they can't do rather than the things they can. Go back to when they played well. That's the way I look at it for those that have had interrupted a couple of years, and that's where I go with Banks. He was the MVP back there a couple of years ago at under 16 level. That form stands up for mine because the best kids are well prepared that you're playing against, and he looked an absolute star there off half-back and playing on the wing. the people of Tassie are great footy judges too. Matty Armstrong, people like that have worked in the program for many years will rank this boy as a player for sure at AFL level. And I agree completely. He was injured when the Australian side got together early in the year and played against Geelong at VFL level. But the way he conducted himself around the group, he was a young leader. I like that about him, and I think he's got a future ahead of him.
Yeah, and that's why you get a feel this year, probably more than any other, you're going to find a diamond in the rough. Some clubs are going to get a beauty in the later rounds because they just haven't seen them enough, and you're speculating. And there's going to be development, and when kids aren't playing a lot of football, they develop at different rates. So don't be surprised out of this draft pool. We'll look back in 5-6 years' time and we'll wonder, how did this player get through to pick 30, pick 35, pick 40? But it would simply have been a lack of exposure, and someone's been prepared to take the risk, and they turn out to be a superstar of the competition. I've got no doubt someone in these later rounds will be an absolute beauty. Shane Edwards is an All-Australian. He's also in that list management room at the moment. He was in there last year, he's in there again, so maybe we have a future list manager in the making there, a bit like Andrew Mackie at Geelong, just trying to find him a career after playing football, and we've got Brad Scott not far away.
With pick 30, Richmond have selected Judson Clark from the Dandenong Stingrays.
Well, finally, it's about goals. I think the game's about kicking goals, and we've got a small forward, the most agile player tested at the start of the year, sub 8 seconds for the AFL agility run. And then he had a day that we all love seeing. Sam Darcy at one end for Vic Metro kick 6. The boy for Vic Country was Judson Clark kicking 5. They were spectacular goals down at Werribee, I think it was. Love seeing that. He dodges around them, and he's got radar around the goals. He's got that, a bit of Tom Papley about him, you know, with a bit of a strut, and I'm going to kick this, I'll take you on, see you later. Around he goes on the left. He's a lefty, and that performance reminds us that this boy's got some real AFL attributes. He come off an ACL too. Many of the boys have had that at some stage in their background, a 16th or 17th year, so he's had that adversity. Then it tests your resolve and your love of the game a fair bit to get back from that to your best, and he certainly found the best that day.
Well, this selection is right in Richmond's wheelhouse. These are the type of players they've been drafting for years. These smalls that can play midfield forward. They've got that running power. You think of, you know, Jack Graham and Castagna and Rioli, Lambert, Dan Butler we saw as the comparisons. Yeah, they love those players that have got that ability to get up the field, get back towards goal, hit the scoreboard, apply pressure, but also win it through the midfield. So it just ticks the box for the type of recruit that Richmond have been known for, and it's been a big part of their success in recent years. Mick, do you like the look of Judson? Do you think he can play some senior footy next year?
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. I really like, as Joey just mentioned, his ability to tie in with someone like a Daniel Rioli, where, you know, they can alternate getting up the ground, where they obviously find the footy. We saw his numbers come up on the ball where he averages just shy of 18 disposals, so there's no issue there. And then the ability to get back and really hit the scoreboard's important for the Tigers.
Manager from Richmond, Matt Clark. What's the vibe down there, Sarah?
Well, Matt is very happy because not only has he nailed his first 5 draft picks, his words, not mine, but he's the first recruiter done for this evening. But, Matty, you must be pretty stoked with the haul of Josh Gibkas, Tom Brown, Tyler Sonsy, Samuel Banks and Judson Clark.
Yeah, really excited. Fulfilled some really good needs in our list that we thought, particularly early. We thought there's some good players that come through to the 20s, and, yeah, we're rapt to get our boys.
Now, last night, David King said Gibkas was the steal of the first night, but you're telling me that another player within the 5 has more talent. Who's that?
I mean, Josh is all our boys are talented, but obviously tonight, Tyler Sonsy, one of the more talented players in the draft, and he's had some injury issues in the last 18 months. It's probably just stunted his development, and obviously COVID along with that with a lot of the boys. So, but we think Tyler's got great upside. He's a Richmond fan, so he's pretty excited. So no, we're really excited.
And the Tigers do have a bit of a romance with Tasmania and also Clarence.
Yeah, another Clarence boy in Sammy Banks. So yeah, so we've obviously had a lot of Tasmanians come through the system with some of our legends that are one still playing at the moment. So great to have Banksy on board. He's a quality kid.
Now, we know drafts can really propel a team towards a premiership. In 5, 6, 7 years' time, will we be looking back and going, wow, this was a pretty impressive haul from the Tigers?
Oh, we hope so, yeah. I mean, it's great when you can bring together a group of boys in this number, and hopefully they can play together and come through as a wave like we've had in the past with a few of our guys coming from the same draft. If you can nail some picks in the same draft and they play a lot of footy together, they can take you a long way.
Well, 5 picks inside the top 30. Well done. You've earned a nice long sleep and perhaps a glass of red, Matty.
Yeah, I think that might happen a bit later on for sure.
Beautiful.